All right. Hello. Welcome to this video. Thank you so much for tuning in, sharing in this now moment with myself and with one another. If you haven't seen these videos before, welcome. Welcome back if you have. My intention is unity and oneness. I want to just go into a little flow. But first, I just want to do a little energy update, which is kind of every couple of days. I think I've been doing kind of a little bit of both. Um, so I just want to invite everybody just to drop in, feel into your bodies, notice how you're feeling, notice what you're feeling. One of the common themes I've had in the last, oh gosh, couple of months is teaching other people how to feel. And I know that sounds for some of us like, don't you know how to feel? Like, can't you feel that? And in some cases, people have difficulty feeling because they have some kind of dis-ease in the body that's blocking those sensory systems. Sometimes people are so anxious and fired up that they're not recognizing feelings or kind of shifting in and out of noticing, different differences in highs or lows. They're just in this space of high anxiety. I think that's an old movie. All the time. And so they're not used to feeling anything else but anxiety, or they're not used to feeling the rainbow of feelings that we can all experience. And so that's one of the things I've been teaching people lately is how do you feel your toes? How do you feel the palms of your hands? How do you feel right now? Do you feel good? I don't know. Do you feel your toes moving? I mean, so I just want to kind of go into that. One of the steps that I teach that I'm being called to do, it's different for everyone because sometimes people don't feel because of trauma, or they think they're feeling something, they're not sure what it is, they can't identify it, and therefore they just choose not to feel it. Sometimes it's emotions that people aren't feeling. So these are big things that have been coming up as a synchronicity of what I've been experiencing in my reality. And one of the messages that the guides are sharing is it really is our senses are activating, our senses are opening up. We're being gifted an opportunity right now to really access those senses. And I feel like more and more people want that. They're looking for the texture. They're looking for the layers. They want to feel more than what they have been feeling. And this, I'm hearing, feeling is healing. So when we allow ourselves to feel certain emotions that we previously were blocking, or we're allowed to feel sad or happy based on a certain experience that we're having, or we recognize that sometimes I will recognize I'm buffering my feelings, I call it. So let me go back to feeling is healing. When I'm tuning in with someone to get into their body, that where attention goes, energy flows is key. And so if we're not able to tune into our hearts, our stomach, our skin, right? All the temple that we live in, essentially, the template that we are poured into in reality co-creation, in the physical, right? It's difficult for us to feel when there's an imbalance. It's difficult for us to notice when something isn't right. And I'm talking about right, not necessarily, it can be intuition too. Is it right or wrong, right? Intuition. That's a whole other topic. But it's difficult for us to feel when there's something that's just not quite right in the body. There's something that's a little bit off. So this is really important, and that's something that's been coming up a lot for me in session. That might be something that you guys are experiencing. You might be experiencing more feelings. You might be experiencing recognizing there were certain things that you weren't allowing yourself to feel before. Now you're like, wow, I feel really sad. I don't know why I feel sad. And I'm being called to just invite everybody not to have to find a label. Just because you're feeling something doesn't necessarily mean that we have to identify it. Sometimes it's okay just to feel sad. And it can be cellular memories that are coming up to be experienced. That was one of the other messages that's coming up is a lot of the stuff that we're going through is to have that experience. And we cannot have the experience fully and completely without allowing ourselves to feel that experience. And so some of us are feeling that experience from the past now. Also, some of us are feeling that experience that potentially could be in the future now. And when you do that, it actually helps to either create that future or to shift the velocity is a whole other video, but to shift the direction maybe away from that future because we can feel it. Therefore, we have that experience, and maybe it's not something that we want to have in in the future. So we feel all of that entanglement, we'll say, and that right there gives us the opportunity to say, I think I'm going to change my course. I'm going to change my direction. Somehow having that experience through meditation or through future viewing or recognizing, ooh, this is what this would feel like, playing into being with that person. Okay, I'm going to play this all out of my mind. What would that look like? How does that feel? What is the experience I want to have? And that gives us the ability to experience it somewhat and then kind of move towards it or move away from it. And that's kind of another topic too, because sometimes it's good to actually have that experience, and other times we don't need to have the full experience. We can experience enough of it to recognize and to feel into that it's something we don't want. And so we're being called to play with all of this. I had a beautiful friend client that had a session that was amazing, and whoever worked with her said, visualize sitting in two chairs and visualize your current reality and visualize this other option that you're thinking about. And they had her feel into it. And it was brilliant the way that they suggested to do that. I don't know what the technique is or if it was just an intuitive technique, but I really loved that. And I'm really happy to share that with you guys because I thought, wow, that's really cool. So oftentimes in meditation, we're called to look ahead and to visualize something. You can do this in womb work. I just gave that as an assignment to someone recently who I've been connecting with, who's amazing. And I was called to remind her to do this exercise. So in womb work, you visualize going back to your womb, if you're a woman, or your mother's womb, right? And you visualize sending energy in a positive way back to your mother, back to your grandmother, back to you if you've birthed children. And what it does is it's healing. It's quantum entanglement. It's action at a distance. So by that focused intention, you are creating an action that ripples backwards into time and has an impact on that time. And this is how quantum entanglement works. So a lot of people think it's woo-woo, but it isn't. It's science. It's real. It really does have an impact in our reality now because there is no real time. According to the guides and according to our realities, everything's happening now. So what we do in this moment, what we do in this lifetime is actually having an impact on not only our future. Oh, got something in my eye. Our future selves, but it's having an impact on our past because we're feeling differently about it from one perspective. So when we visualize love and light and forgiveness or healing or whatever it is, and we send that signal, that wave, to the past versions of ourselves in our mother's womb, or the past versions of our mothers who might still be living now or might not. Either way, you're healing, in essence, energetically, in that moment, that connection. It works for you, it works for the parent, it works for siblings in some cases. So these are all just things to kind of play with and think about. So I had shared that with my client as an exercise because I had seen that could be powerful for her. And now I'm sharing it with you guys because when I do these videos, oftentimes if I'm having a session with someone, I get more information to share with everybody else that's helpful. And I didn't create that idea. I'm sure I learned it from someone else, but that is something that came into my awareness that could be helpful for them. Just like when I'm doing a session, I might get a story that comes up that I feel like I need to talk about. And I'll share it. And then all of a sudden they'll say, that's really weird that you brought that up because just yesterday, and there we go. So part of that is I follow that feeling, that intuition of, I feel like I need to share this. And 99% of the time, there's a reason, right? There's no coincidence, so to speak. It's a synchronicity. Energies are strong today, yeah? Actually, every day. Every day they're like this, it seems like lately. So as we go into this, sorry, I just looked up, I saw it, and I thought I just saw an artist, or a author by the name of Wolf, and Wolf has been coming up in my dreams, teacher. We can talk about dream time a little bit. A lot of people have been having dreams that seem, so a couple things I want to talk about dreams. Symbols can come through in our dreams. I've been having wolf come up a lot. Wolf, coyote. Coyote is the trickster. Also that Hyoka clown energy that's coming up. Wolf is a teacher using that energy to teach us something. I could go on and on. A lot of people are dreaming about animals. Last week I kept dreaming about cats and lions, and sometimes there's a synchronicity and a collective dream time synchronicity where a lot of people are dreaming about the same thing. 2 weeks ago, it was tsunamis and natural disasters and things like that, and I wasn't the only one having those dreams. So they come in clumps sometimes, and a collective of beings will dream about the same thing. It's kind of a shared dream space that we all can kind of connect into sometimes. And I invite everybody, if you're dreaming about an animal of some sort, look up what it means. You'd be surprised at the value it can provide. Even something that seems very not important can sometimes be valuable for our growth, recognition. I've been dreaming about a lot of loved ones that are on the other side. That's been very common. And one of the things I wanted to point out as a tool is if you're having a dream that's just nutso, and sometimes it's so crazy and you just know it's so bizarre and out there that at that moment in the dream, you're like, what? This is ridiculous. That can sometimes wake you up in the dream, make you become lucid. And I've been recognizing that more and more, like, oh gosh, that was me trying to get myself to realize this is ridiculous. Wake up in the dream. And then you can control the dream. You can be lucid. I've had a couple of lucid dreams recently. I'm not the best at it because I don't practice, but I would encourage anyone else who has that natural gift really to use it. It's very fun, and you can use it to heal. You can use it to explore realities. You can use it for a lot of things. You can use it just to feel good and be playful and be curious and fly if you want. I used it the other night to visit my grandmother who was on the other side, and I got so emotional in the dream interacting with her and giving her a hug that I woke myself up out of the dream. So you do have to have somewhat of a neutral space when you're in that, because too high or too low will bring you into the waking field. So if you've been having a lot of like just bizarre dreams where you're like, what? And you can realize it in the dream, that's actually a tool that your higher self is getting you to realize, hey, this is a dream. This is ridiculous. And then sometimes it can be something that's very obvious. Like I dreamed I was in a Christmas store and I'm like, what? It's not Christmas. Boom, I was awake in the dream. But Christmas is also symbolic, right? There's something coming up towards around that energy, right? So that's something to keep in mind. What else I have so much I could go into the healing sessions. So in the healing sessions that I've had with individuals, it's been fascinating because it's so different with everyone I work with, but I feel like one of the common themes is a desire to deepen our connection with the woo-woo, which isn't woo-woo. It's science, it's ethereal, it's amazing, it's life-changing. And so that's something that a lot of people are on a journey to discover right now. And when you go through this journey, you discover more about yourself. And one of the things you have to be is open. And more people are becoming that way. Simultaneously, we're seeing a lot of people that are becoming less that way. And goes into, I guess I'm not going to go into flow. I'm just going to share this is a lot more, I'm in a little bit weaving in and out of the polarization that many of us are seeing. This is probably going to continue. So a couple things. Yes, the energies are going to continue to get stronger. Reality is going to become more fluid, and we're not going to feel the same from day to day. This is just what I see from my perspective. And yes, people are not going to line up with us still. I don't see us all going down one path and choosing one direction and choosing one way to communicate and choosing this, that, or the other. I feel as if that is still kind of this pull, this polarization. And I feel that until we get to a point of accepting that the other side of the gorge or the other side of the giant crevice that we're all on, there's just the irony about it is I keep getting reference to, okay, I said this in several videos, and then Lee Harris said it in his video, which validated what I was feeling in my own reality. And maybe what I'm sharing is going to validate what you're experiencing in your reality. And by the way, that's what this work is all about, is helping us all to see that, okay, I'm not crazy. I was feeling this. I had this sense, and thank you for expressing that. That happens to me all the time, and I'm so grateful when that happens, because it just kind of shares with us that we're not alone and we are on track, and everything is going in a particular direction that we're sensing. Our senses are opening up, so on and so forth. But he called it so I want to share that story briefly. But this idea that we all have to live in the same reality, or that we all have to agree, is not necessarily, again, a friend of mine said today, it's not about being wrong or right. It's about recognizing that there is a choice. And if you feel like you should have a choice, but someone else shouldn't, that's what we're being called to ask ourselves. Where are we putting these containers around ourselves and other people? And I know that's not necessarily reflected back to us necessarily in the political realm right now. I don't even want to go there. I want to just share that what I am seeing is this is reflecting back personally. Look at ourselves and ask ourselves, where am I putting stipulations? I'm saying, okay, I want freedom, I want love, I want everybody to be free. Yet, I'm sorry, you're wrong. You can't think that way. So these are all questions that we're being called to ask ourselves. Where am I doing what I'm accusing somebody else of doing? Or where am I actually participating in the same types of interactions that I feel that another person shouldn't participate in? And we all do it. From my perspective, we all do it from time to time. The same thing like judging. Oh, I'm not going to judge. But that person, I can't believe what they just did. But I'm not judging. Absolutely you are. And that's human. I judge all the time. And it's what we do with that judgment. It's how we respond to it. It's how we feel about it. It's how we, that's the importance from my perspective. Telling someone that we don't ever do that is not realistic in this reality where we're at now. Maybe in another dimension, it's possible to do that. But that's another thing. We're interweaving in this reality, and a lot of people are pointing out what's wrong and what's right from this reality, saying this is dark, this is light. And there are some things, of course, that I certainly don't want to participate in, that I don't want to have anything to do with. That's not my bubble of reality, nor do I choose to play there. And it's not that I think it's right what other people are doing, but at the same time, it's not something I want to participate in, nor do I choose to put my attention there. And if more of us put our attention in co-creating in what we do want to see, being the change kind of, speech, it would really make a massive shift very quickly. And these other lower frequency realities that we're judging, that we're complaining about, that we're repeating about over and over again, that we're speaking into existence. The word was one, the word was God. We're saying it, oh, I can't stand this person, they're awful, on and on. We're giving that energy. We're giving our frequency, our attention, where attention goes, energy flows to that person, place, or thing. Again, I do it. I recognize I do it. Just sometimes by us recognizing that we do it can shift that frequency to where we can bring our focus back onto, all right, what am I here to do? I got off track, right? So that's sometimes what we're being called to do. I'm going to what I was speaking about earlier with the alternate ending books. So last year I had gone to, I'm gonna just give a personal story of not only in this story that I'm about to share, it's nothing exciting, it's just an experience I had. But in that experience, I could see things from multiple perspectives, and it was fascinating to me, the synchronicities that came up, the humor that came up, and the symbolism that showed up for me in this experience. And my family had taken me to this restaurant bar that has delicious libations that have, all of these fancy ingredients in it. And you can get a mocktail or a cocktail if you want. And they have, I don't know, I was going to say Eye of Newt, but I've been joking about that. But, fresh orgeat and milked almonds added to, you know what I mean. If you're a mixologist, you get what I'm putting down. But so we went and had food there, and we're sitting looking at everything. And it's this beautiful restaurant in California that's got pinks and flowers and everything. And then you look on the wall and there's a giant picture of a pentagram and with flowers on it, and it's all beautiful. And then you go into the bathrooms, and you guys may have been to this. I can't remember the name of the restaurant, I'm sorry, but you might have been there. You go into this restaurant, and inside the ladies' bathroom is like the wallpaper is the cosmos. It's awesome. It's beautiful. There's like galaxies, and it's fabulous. And then the light fixture is this crystal. A lot of the restaurants in California are an experience in themselves, and they have a lot of speakeasy, lots of really cool vegan restaurants. I mean, it's fun to have those experiences. But anyways, so I digress. And then also, and I'm going to kind of come back to this in a minute and pull it all in. Also on the wall was a black and gold, which I've taken pictures of at multiple places, and sometimes it's for my background, a black and gold, like honeycomb, right? Hexagon wall, which was beautiful. And then in each bathroom stall, there's a picture of like a demon kitty, right? Like with like dark eyes and like a demon kitty in each bathroom. And then on one, by the sink, there's like a man holding a demon kitty. And he looks like a man that's on the cover of a Harlequin romance novel. I thought it was hilarious. Now, I'm giving this picture. The food was amazing. The people were amazing that worked there. It was just a fun. I could have looked at that and been like, okay, this place is not okay, right? We've got a hexagram. It's clearly representing witchcraft. Or I could see the humor in it and appreciate how funny it is. And we take ourselves too seriously. Understand that the pentagram can be used for good and it can be used for bad. It is a kind of middle of the road, and it doesn't really it's been taken as a story to represent something. It's been portrayed as a certain way in movies over and over again. My point is with that, we're so used to listening to what other people tell us is right or wrong that we tend to build our reality on those stories, on the media, on the movies, on the television shows, on what's in the newspaper, on what our professors tell us. And, the argument is, well, if it's a professor telling you that, they're educated. Okay, they're educated based on a system of books that were written by people that wrote about what they knew or what they believed to be true based on that time. So according to science, certain things, I think, what is it? They used morphine on a regular basis as like, this will fix it, just take some morphine. Back then, that was the high-end science. So my point is, as we grow, as we expand, we don't know what we don't know. And so I saw it as just hilarious. And also, it's our perspective, it's our perception. What are we going to do with it? We see it, it's right in front of us. We can either choose to be angry and hostile and hate, which is exactly what that energy that we claim is dark represents. It's a match. We're matching the frequency of anger and hate and judgment with anger and hate and judgment. Although maybe that the person that put that bar together just thought it was a big joke. Maybe they really do believe in witchcraft. Whatever it might be, I have no judgment around any of that. for my reality, but I thought it was hilarious. And I thought you could see it from both sides. It was beautiful and dark all at the same time. And the food was organic ingredients and fresh and local. And I mean, it's just, I know that there's going to be some people that go, well, of course, they want to draw you in, and that's dark. And other people are going to be, oh, that doesn't mean anything. It's a joke. It's all our perspective. And we're at this point where there's a time for us to teach and preach, but we're preaching sometimes about things we don't really know. We're basing it off of what we've been taught, what we've been told. And even going into intuition, boy, I'm going down the rabbit hole here. Even going deep into intuition, if you're not in a place of love and balance, we'll say, neutrality, doesn't even have to be love and light. If you're not in a place of neutrality, that interpretation of the intuitive messages that we're receiving can be then interpreted from a place of fear. And that fear can be coming from a place of well-intended. My intention is pure. I want to share messages, but those messages are full of fear and teachings about fire and brimstone. Is that really a neutral and place of, is that going to empower other people to come from a place of love? So these are all things we're being called to ask ourselves. And I'm just presenting this as an example for me. Oh, let's get to the juice. So when the check was given to us, instead of a check presenter, their check presenter is a book. And the book is, it had a book, I'm trying to remember the name of it. All right, so the book, excuse me, I had to, and I don't want to make light of this either, because I want to just to kind of say, I'm not making fun essentially of any belief system or structure. I am very much in a space of, choose your own adventure, do no harm kind of lifestyle. And because I work with so many different people, and it's amazing because everybody has their own belief system and structure, and I learned so much about these belief systems and structures, and I find value in many of them. But anyways, so Chimney Rock, it was called The Adventures or The Mystery of Chimney Rock. That was the book, and the cat on the cover of it was what the cats were in these. It was just so funny because I thought, okay, this is great. So it's basically this haunted bar, like the haunted house, and it was just kind of cool. Now, for me, it was very synchronistic, unfortunately, because it was timing, the timing about Chimney Rock and the disaster at Chimney Rock and the town of Chimney Rock happened in it was like almost like a precognition. I saw symbolism in it. And in addition to that, there was symbolism on the choose your own adventure. And I thought, okay, this is representing so much right now. So I don't know if you guys are following what I'm kind of putting down here. Basically, I utilized this experience at this place that I was taken to see it as a multidimensional way of reading the energy of reality and recognizing that we all have these different perspectives. And the Choose Your Own Adventure at Chimney Rock is a book. It reminded me of my childhood. And I sensed that this is where we're going. I sensed there was something big happening with Chimney Rock. It was too synchronistic because it had come up in my reality a lot. And that's a side synchronicity that I have. Sometimes we get intuitive hits on places, on, things that are going to happen. I'll give for instance, Uluru in Australia was struck by lightning, and I dreamed about it that night. I mean, I could tell so many stories, and I'm sure you guys have your stories too, where you dreamed about something happening and then it came true, or you had these feelings about something that was going to happen. Again, this goes back to what I was talking about in the beginning of the video. Feelings and recognizing those feelings, not only physical, but also sensations about the ethereal, is part of us using our sensory system, such as our intuition. And so I had a feeling that this whole experience meant something more than just sitting in a restaurant and having food and being entertained. It meant something bigger. And you step into this place. It's like you step in, a dear friend of mine said, Because I love to ask people, have you had anything magical happen lately? Because sometimes you need somebody to ask you that question for you to go, huh, actually, yes. Or, no, I haven't. Huh, maybe I did and didn't recognize it. I could go on and on and on. So it's just something to kind of be aware of. I like to ask those questions because part of what I think I'm here to do is to bring up that in people's fields. And I love it when people do that with me too, because then I get kind of snapped back into, curiosity, you know? So the choose your own adventure, and I'll go back to the synchronicity of me seeing this about a year ago. I said, this is it. We're in this place of duality. We're in this place of dark and light. And here I am in a space that has all of the above. And I'm being gifted this opportunity with this book to choose my own adventure and to look at this as a space of intuitive remembrance and to recognize that everybody in this restaurant are all choosing their own adventures. And yet it's all in the same book, right? It's all in the same restaurant. Just because we go to a restaurant doesn't mean we're all going to pick the same food. So it's something very, very important that my guidance team is like, keep remembering that, keep remembering that. So I'm sharing that experience with you because we can utilize our experiences to interpret reality in a myriad of ways. I use synchronicity every time I drive anywhere. You know, the license plates talk to me, the animals talk to me, the radio talks to me. People use words that I just was speaking about, and they'll say, I don't know why I saw a blue monkey the other day, and I'm thinking, that's weird. I dreamed about a blue monkey last night, right? So these are just ways for our reality to express with us, the medium of our reality, through us and through one another, through all of the objects. And we're not in the 3D anymore. So I'm sharing this because this is one way of interacting in the fourth and fifth dimensions without getting into all the details, because quite frankly, I don't fully understand. I just share what I do know. I don't know what I don't know, and neither does anybody else, even though a lot of people out there really want to know. They want to talk about something that they believe strongly that they're the expert in. And in that moment, they may be the expert until someone else comes along and says, hey, did you know that there was a number 2? There's not just a number 1, there's 2. And people are like, what? What do you mean? That changes everything. And then the next person comes around and goes, guess what? There's also a 3. What? No. Okay, I gotta start over. So if we can broaden our perspective and really just kind of hold space and be in that place of curiosity and childlike wonder and awe and appreciation and gratitude, there are going to be times that we don't necessarily agree with what's happening. For sure. A lot of those, actually, I see it right now myself. Just because I'm in this awareness doesn't mean I believe that everything I'm witnessing and observing is for the highest and greatest good for everyone. But I also am not allowing myself on a regular, I'm trying to be as consistent as I can, not getting pulled into that chaos, not getting pulled into that adventure at the end of the chapter that thousands of other people have chosen when I have other options to choose from. But sometimes we can't necessarily see that we have other endings to choose from because we're so invested in that one track. We're so invested in listening to what other people are telling us we should choose. If that makes sense. I guess that was kind of a big message. I wasn't intending to go there, but apparently that's relevant. And I have so much more to share, but that's the time that I have for now. I hope someone found that helpful. And the way in which I've been called to share with other people to navigate this polarity, which has been coming up a lot in conversation. It's coming up in conversation, but when it comes down to it, if I'm doing a healing session with someone, all that drops away. And all that happens is someone usually will find a quiet calm, or they'll go, I didn't think of that before. Or you know what? I feel different than I did when I laid down or when I started this session, or maybe they realize there's more to the story than what they previously believed to be true. And these are all things that we're all going through. Each and every one of us are having those types of experiences. So what it really boils down to is, in an everyday experience, in an everyday, I'm hearing everyday entanglement, we're going to get pulled into people's stories. We're going to get pulled into conversation about things we don't necessarily agree on. But if we can have the grace and the patience and the recognition that that person's in their own shoes, their own adventure, and they're dedicated to that ending, we aren't necessarily going to at all be able to get them to change that direction, nor should we. And in some case, unless they're going down that path of deep, dark destruction or they're hurting someone else, that's different. If you're having an, what do you call it when you have I forgot, where the family gets together and someone is, let's say, an alcoholic and they have a intervention, I think is what it's called. That's it's not what I'm referring to at all. We're not meant to have an intervention in every conversation that we have about someone else's beliefs from the perspective of the guides. I say my perspective, but this is what the guides tell me, right? I wasn't like that though. Years ago, I was like, I was much more apt to share my beliefs, to share, well, from my perspective, that isn't the right way to go. I still share from my perspective at this stage of my life, but I don't necessarily go there. I just share maybe an idea or a concept, or I'll ask questions. And I genuinely am curious what other people, why they believe the way they do. Because sometimes it helps me make sense of why they believe the way they do. And I go, that's really interesting. I can see why they believe that. I don't agree with it because of my own storyline, my own belief, but I can see why they do. And so what then? And then you go into a place of how can we coexist and come to a place of unification all at the same time. And even that word coexist, right? I just kind of play with that a little bit because a lot of people think we are being, I am. I'm very loving and I'm very understanding. If you believe what I believe, and if you don't, then you're evil or you're this, and we're back to square one, right? But there's a 2, but there's a 3. Anyways. All right, I'm going to end on that note and just share that it isn't always easy. This is definitely a very challenging time for many of us. But take a deep breath, get into the heart, get into that sense of feeling, and allow those feelings to move through the system and work with those feelings, not against, not trying to ignore or push something away. It doesn't have to be a battle. It can just be a place of acceptance of what we're feeling. It can be a place of, okay, I'm recognizing that. And as we do that, it transmutes, it shifts, it morphs into something else sometimes. And other times it doesn't change at all. And we're being called to look at that over and over again to better understand why we're feeling what we're feeling, or to better understand how we can shift and broaden and expand because of that feeling. So there's just a lot of different ways of looking at it. So I hope this was helpful for someone. In love and light, guys. Namaste.